Thank you very much.
This meeting is being recorded.
Thanks very much, Angela. Right, I'm going to try and share my screen now. I know this is closely followed by "you're on mute" is the most said phrase, isn't it, at the moment. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Fabulous. Okay. Thank you very much for having us at this session. I'm really pleased to be able to talk to a number of village halls. We received some really good advice and some help when we were first setting up. So I'm really happy to share our knowledge and the information that we've gathered over the nearly 3 years that we've been running the film club. As you will see as I go through these slides, there is quite a lot of information on them, but I'm very happy to share them. I'll send a copy of them to Angela and she can distribute them out to anybody that wants them. I've included some links within the slides as well to the various different sets of information that we use, but very happy to take questions either in this session or to our email address as well, if there are people that think of things after the events and after this week. I'll go through the slides. Hopefully I'll explain enough of what you're seeing on the screen to help make sense, but as I said, ask some questions at the end. I did spot that there's a few other colleagues from the film club joined this session today, so if I can't answer it, I know that the rest of the team will jump in and support me with any questions that I get stuck on. So a little bit about the club and about the team. We first started in February 2019, which feels like an absolute lifetime ago, but it's been a really good 3 years coming up for it. Obviously we did lockdown and we stopped showing films for a number of months while we were in the real height of the pandemic and in official lockdown, but we've managed to recover from that so far. We had some slow cautious openings again towards the end of last year, but we are back up and running again now, and hoping that we carry on with the fabulous numbers that we've had so far at the club. I've put some stats on this page for you to see. Our highest attendance that we've had so far was 171 people. We managed to show Bohemian Rhapsody 2 or 3 days after the Oscars, where there was so much emphasis on that film, where Rami Malek won his Oscar. So we had an amazing performance that night. I think we ended up having to turn people away at the door. It was amazing. As Angela said, we average about 60 people coming to our shows, and at the moment, yes, we are definitely socially distancing. And that all depends on the people that come. If they come in groups of 2, then we'll try and keep them separate from other groups of 2. But if you've got a family who come along, then we'll try and accommodate different people. We've always got plenty of team members on the night there available to help people find the right sort of seating for themselves. In terms of membership, we run a membership program, and I'll come on to a little bit more about that later on. But before the pandemic, we had 66 active members, and at the moment that's dropped down a little bit as people are a bit more cautious about coming back, but we have managed to keep hold of 35 members, and people are renewing each time they come to a performance. We always have our performances on a Friday evening. We made a deliberate decision to make it a regular slot. Not only that meant we could keep that slot within the booking diary of the community centre, but also into people's diaries. It's always good to know, oh yeah, the second Friday of the month, it must be film club. What are they showing? Yeah, let's get along. And what we also do is publicise our films about 6 months at a time. We put together what we call a season, and try and look at the new films that are coming out, and also try and include some classics in there, and also ones that people have voted for. In terms of the team, we've had the same team that we started with way back in 2019. I would say you need quite a variety of people with a variety of skills, and I've listed here the definitely the skills and the people that we've got on the team at the moment. A fantastic treasurer who keeps us honest. Danny, who looks after all the marketing and social media, making sure that we're getting the posters produced, and we're getting those hits on Facebook to make sure people know about us. David and Pat look after the refreshments, making sure we've got plenty of wine in stock and serving them on the night. Ivor, our technical man, you'll see some photos of some of the equipment that we've got, and he's done a fantastic job in making sure that we get everything set up on the night properly. Do a lot of advertising in our local community magazine, and obviously there's an awful lot of admin that goes along with it, and I'll talk a little bit about the licensing side that needs to be done on a regular basis as well. I would say if you are setting up, you do need quite a few people to help you. This is not a one-man band. There is quite a lot that needs to be done ahead of each performance, and then obviously on the night as well. Okay, so this is a couple of pictures of our screen. Before we made any purchases or did anything, David and Nick on the team had a good look about what was possible to install within our community centre. They looked at some of these folding screens where you would just sort of pop it up on the evening and then fold it back down again to be tidied away. Quite expensive, and we also decided that it would be actually quite cumbersome to have to put it up, take it down. There's potential for it to get damaged, and then we decided that it would actually be better if we could install a permanent screen in the community centre. And as you can see from the picture on the right there, what we've done is put a wooden frame with plasterboard and paint actually onto the back of the stage at the community centre. There's then a black curtain that goes in front of it to protect it. Luckily, we've touched wood, we haven't had any damage to it so far, but if it does get damaged, then it's as simple as potentially a bit more plaster and a bit more paint, rather than having to replace the whole thing if it had been a pop-up or a plastic screen. The image quality is really good. It works really well and is incredibly smooth. The craftsman who did that did a fantastic job for us, and it's worked really well for us so far. In terms of measurements, I've put on there, it's about 6 meters wide by 4 meters high. And that was a deliberate measurement to try and keep it within sort of the widescreen ratio. And we have a little bit of sort of jiggery pokery every time we're doing a film to just make sure that the projector's in exactly the right place. But it always looks really good on the night where you've got the really clear screen at the back. This is our equipment, and as I said, Ivor built this for us, a little trolley that gets wheeled in and out on the night. And as you can see on there, we've got a projector, a very simple DVD player, an amplifier, and then all of the cables coming out of the side there go into the speakers. We've installed a number of speakers, as you can see on the right hand side, around the hall, so that we get a real good surround of sound. We also have a big woofer at the front of the hall as well, and have a really good high quality of sound. And I think part of that is due to the equipment that we've got. As Angela said at the beginning, I work for ITV, and I was very fortuitous to be actually working on a project that was looking at our office equipment, and managed to get this equipment donated to us. And I think it's fair to say that we got ourselves off on a fantastic footing because of that. This is professional grade equipment, so we're incredibly lucky to have that. One thing I've probably failed to do on these slides is write down the exact specification of the ones that we've got, but I'm happy to provide that if that's useful for anybody. But the projector we've got here is a high quality. This isn't the kind of one that you would put into a home. It really is a sort of a business class type of projector, but I can provide the details if anybody's interested in it. As you can see, Ivor's been quite clever with making sure that if the cable's running onto the floor, there's clear signage there for nobody to not be able to spot that there is a set of cables on the floor. So we're quite cautious about people walking over and either hurting themselves or damaging the cables. So we've got a little bit of blocking there just to make sure nobody hurts themselves. But all of that equipment rolls away at the end of the night and is locked up in the community centre, and we just leave it in the building. The next biggest thing is probably licensing, and this may well be the area that people sort of need to go and do the most digging on. There are different kinds of licenses that you need in order to stay within the law. The first one is the actual license to be able to show a film, and that's the copyright license. On the right hand side here, you can see I've listed the details that we use. We use a company called Film Bank Media, and the website's there, and we purchase a single title screening license for each event that we hold. So for every Friday night that we're showing a film, we'll have purchased a license ahead of time. The website is really good. You search for the film and you book the film all online. If you need to have that booking approved, but the company behind the booking are very, very efficient. Within about 48 hours that booking's been approved. The cost for that performance depends on the box office takings, and what we traditionally end up paying is is £83 plus VAT, or 35% of the box office, whichever is the greater. So depending on how much you charge entry, depends on how many people you need through the door to make sure that you're breaking even, because you're always going to have that minimum of £83 plus VAT to pay for your licenses. I did look at outdoor performance prices, but it really varies to how many people you are anticipating and in what sort of environment you are going to be showing an outdoor film. We've never actually shown one outdoors, so I can't actually tell you what that would be specifically. But ours have always been the £83 plus VAT, or the 35%. The second kind of license is a premises license, and this one really only applies if you're planning to make a profit from showing the films. So if you intend to set up a cinema, for want of a better word, that you're going to be showing regular films and wanting to make money out of it, then you would need to obtain a premises license as well. But because we are operating just to bring enough money in to replace any costs and to cover our outgoings, we don't require a premises license. We just have the film license. And then the third kind of license we definitely do have is a premises alcohol license. When we first started, we weren't sure exactly what kind of refreshments we might sell to people, and so we were buying an alcohol license every time we had an event. But once we knew that the film club was going to take off, and the number of events that were wanting to have an alcohol license in the community centre was actually increasing, it made a lot more sense for the community centre themselves to purchase an annual alcohol license, and then the film club just pay a small monthly amount into that overall premises license. So I think originally we were paying, and Nick can correct me with these numbers, but I think we were paying £20 every time, but now we pay £180 for the year for all events, and so we just pay, I think we maybe pay £10 now to just use that license. But that's obviously worked a lot better for us. But we decided to wait and make sure that we were going to be using it before we went ahead and got that whole premises license. So just a little bit more about the film license. I've put a screenshot here from the Film Bank Media website. There's an awful lot of information about each film that's available on their website. You can just go onto it and search and see what films they've got. There are some films that are that require special permission, and then there are other films that are not allowed to be shown at all. They have special classification, and sort of community centres are not allowed to show them. And those are the sort of, I don't quite know why, but they seem to be an awful lot of Steven Spielberg films. So the Indiana Jones trilogies, or it's not a trilogy anymore, but those ones, Star Wars, Spider-Man, some of the Marvel films are all excluded, and you can't get a license for it. Whereas other films, you can apply specifically to get a special license. We're showing the new James Bond film in February, and we had to apply for a special license for that one, but it's been granted. So applying ahead of time and knowing where you are is always my advice, definitely, on this. We tend to try and show a few new films and try and mix up showing some of the classics and new ones as well. And it's very useful on this website because you can see a date when each film is going to be available for you to purchase a license for. So this is a screenshot, as I said, from the film Respect, all about Aretha Franklin. So that came out in the cinema in September, and it was available for screenings from the 13th of December. So we normally factor in about 3 months from its cinema release to when we could then get a license for it. I think there was, I think Bohemian Rhapsody, we timed it exactly right, obviously with the Oscars. James Bond, yeah, that's obviously fairly recently at the cinemas, and we've tried to keep on top and make sure we've got some new films coming through. But it's really useful that you can see that information on the Film Bank Media website. As you can see, you can also request posters from them, as well as see the trailers if you haven't already seen them. So it's a really good resource to be able to use. In order to book the license using Film Bank Media, you do need to set up an account with them, and they ask for a £150 deposit, just a one-off deposit, and then you're able to use the service. You've got an email correspondence that if you've got any queries, they're very good and very efficient at responding to any queries you might have. So highly recommend them. There are other companies who do it. I found another one, but there wasn't as much online capability with one of the other companies. You had to fill a physical form in and then post it off to them, and then you would get a response back from them. But I've found that Film Bank Media have been fantastic all the time that we've used them, so I would definitely recommend them. In terms of revenue and costs, I think, as I said, the setup of the equipment is probably going to be your biggest cost, and I would, unless you're as lucky as us, I would say that you probably need a few £1,000s to be able to purchase the quality of equipment that you would need, and I think it's probably worth investing in some decent equipment once you know that the club's going to be viable for you. It will make a huge difference to the sound quality if you've got a really good amplifier and speakers, and also the quality of what you show up on your screen if you've got a good projector. I can't give you any more advice on that, I'm afraid. I can't tell you who to go and shop with, unfortunately, because we didn't have to. We were very lucky. But I would definitely recommend investing in the highest quality that you can to get the most out of that. Other setup costs, yeah, I've talked about the deposit for the license for website media, Film Bank Media, and then we also have a website that we keep updated on a regular basis. So that's an initial setup cost We do ours through WordPress, which is very easy to use, and probably there are other ones that have sort of templates that you can then use, and you don't have to be a programmer to be able to look after a simple website. In terms of ongoing costs, we have chosen to every month produce posters, and also a program. We produce a physical program twice a year as well, so we've got those as ongoing costs. There are some website ongoing costs as well. Even after you've set it up, you'll have some annual renewals that you'll need to make, but they're quite small. But those other costs will keep going. And then the monthly costs, obviously the hire of the hall, unless you're lucky enough to get that for free, the license, as I've talked about, and then purchasing the DVDs. Filmback Media do offer a service where you can rent the DVD from them. We've never done it. I've always been a bit hesitant because you are then a little bit reliant on the post to come through, because they don't actually send the DVD out until a few days before your booked event, and also always a little bit worried about the quality of the disc that you're going to get. I don't know how many people remember going and renting DVDs from Blockbuster or VHS from Blockbuster, but you were never quite sure whether it was going to work in your machine. So we've always hesitated from just renting the DVDs, and DVDs are so cheap now. For £10 for a really new film, it seemed like a good investment for us. We have reused them sometimes. We've done the occasional matinee, and so I've used the film a couple of times, which has meant the cost per show is not as high, but my opinion would be it's safer to buy them, or if one of the team members have already got the film, then fantastic, you don't have to buy it that time. And then replenishing the refreshments is clearly a need. We do get through, I want to say, not, if I say a lot of wine each month, that sounds terrible, but we do get through a few bottles each month, and the soft drinks as well that we sell. Excuse me. The prices that we charge, we spent quite a bit of time debating how much we should charge for the films, and we decided that £5 for non-members was a reasonable amount. We tried to calculate how many people we would need to get in each showing to make sure that we covered our costs, and we sort of factored on £5 being a reasonable amount. We then have a membership scheme where people can pay £6 annual fee, and they get a reduced ticket price for every single show that they come to. So they only need to come to a few of the shows, and they've already made back their membership fee by reducing that price. Those members also get to vote. We do a membership vote twice a year, where we give people an option of things to vote, films to choose from, and we select the most popular, and that's the one that we show, which is great. We're actually going to be doing that at the James Bond. We're going to be asking people to vote for the musical that we show in May, so looking forward to see which one they choose in that one. On the refreshment side, we're not looking to make a profit on anything we do really, but we do offer sort of wine at a very reasonable price. I think we charge £2 a glass of wine, and everybody's very happy to pay for that, which goes down quite well. On the promotion side, so this is a copy of a poster that we put up around the village. So this is our James Bond that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And then also we advertise our programme. So this was the films that we were going to show last year, but sadly went into lockdown, so didn't do most of that programme. But try and, as you can see there, have quite a variety of films that we include within a season each time. We have articles in our local magazine, which is really goes out to, I think, about 3,000 homes, maybe not quite that many, a few thousand homes around the village. Always try and make sure we've got an article in there describing what the next film is. We'll also, when we publish a new program, we'll make sure that that full program goes into the magazine as well. We have a mailing list. We use a service called MailChimp, which is free up to a certain number of people, but we only have 90 people on our mailing list, but we send them monthly updates about what's coming up, and also we'll tell them about the program. As I said, keep the website up to date with the new film, and a link to the trailer as well. And Facebook, we create events and then share that into all of the village groups on Facebook as well. Yeah, a bit more about the program there. And then on the night, traditionally we have open the doors at 7 o'clock and have the film start at 7:30. Drinks available beforehand. Our fantastic refreshment committee look after the wines, teas, coffees, and some soft drinks as well. We always have subtitles on for the films. It's a useful tool. I think it always takes a little bit of messing around at the beginning of a film, but I think everybody appreciates having those subtitles on. Sometimes if we're showing an older film, the quality of the sound is not always fantastic, and we do have one or two older members of the audience, so it's always good for them to be able to read along if that's how they prefer it. We have plenty of team available on the night, setting up the hall, putting the chairs out. We have people on taking the money as people come into the hall, checking off the memberships, renewing any members that want to sign up, and we do a bit of a technical check as well before people come in, just to make sure that everything's working properly. We also occasionally do little extras. So we had a performance of White Christmas just before Christmas, and we had mince pies available for everybody, and did some mulled wine on that night as well. I think last Valentine's Day we had the little packets of Love Heart sweets, and I think we had Prosecco available to buy that night as well. So I think little touches like that doesn't cost us a huge amount of money, but I think everybody really appreciates it. Yeah, we raised a few smiles when we gave out bags of Fisherman's Friends sweets when we showed the film Fisherman's Friends, so I think that went down quite well. The other thing we do on the night is, as people are coming into the hall, we have up on the screen trailers. So I've put together a little snippet of the start of the trailer. I haven't included any of the actual film trailers on this one, but what we try and do is use this as an information outlet for people as well, so they can see what's coming up. So let me see if I can make this work. I put these together to show on the night, and I do that by connecting my laptop up to the projector. I use a Mac, and I've created them on iMovie, just to a little bit of something to watch as people are coming in and getting themselves settled. I do try and keep them up to date each performance, just so that people see the next films that are coming up. But I think it's really useful as a way to keep people engaged while they're sat around waiting for the film to start. And that's it. So yeah, this is the poster for our February film. Looking forward to seeing James Bond. It is a long film. I don't know how many people have seen it, but we're actually going to have an interval in this one, so that'll take a little bit of managing, unfortunately. But I hope to see some people there. It'd be lovely to see anybody. And that is the end of my slides. I will send out these slides. As I said, there's quite a lot of detail in them, and I will share them with Angela, and I'm sure she can share them out with anybody that's interested in them afterwards. That's me done.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Liz. That was absolutely brilliant and really informative. So it looks fantastic. I wish I lived in Lenham. So I just want to go back through the chat to, and I've realised that some of your colleagues from the film club there have been answering questions as we've been going along. So that's great. But I just want to make sure that we've captured some of the questions that didn't get answered here. So Angela answered the question about the premises license and whether or not it applies to registered charities. So she's going to cover that one. Someone asked, had you considered downloading or streaming the films as opposed to buying them? And is there maybe a reason why you chose to use DVDs instead? No, just for ease, really. I think streaming would be quite difficult. I mean, we're all at the mercy of the internet, aren't we? So I'd never really considered streaming them. Yeah, I guess I could download them. I don't know how much cheaper that would be, to be honest. And you may well not be able to keep it for long. So, for example, we showed Downton Abbey when that was quite new. We showed an evening performance, and then we also did a matinee about 6 weeks or so later. So I don't know how that would work if you had downloaded rather than purchased the DVDs. Yeah, I know Amazon, you have to watch films within 48 hours, don't you? So that would be an issue. So just to clarify then, if you purchase the single screen license, that is for one showing and one showing only of that film. That's correct. So in the Downton Abbey example, then you have to purchase 2 licenses. And because it's for the same film, they actually combined the cost of it. So you when you fill in your box office returns on the website, you say how many people for each showing came, and then they total it up, and then you pay the fee for those 2 combined performances. Okay. And the question pursuant to that, what evidence does Film Bank require of box office takings? How does that get policed? They've never audited us. I'm sure they could do. I'm sure they could send somebody down and check head count, but I think it's an honesty. I complete it. I say how many people were full price, how many were reduced price. And they take it as read, I think. Right. Okay. Sorry, go on. What were you going to say? No, I was just going to say, I imagine that if we were putting in thousands of entries, then they might be coming to question what was going on. But if I'm putting 100, I'm sure we've quite small fry for what they're looking after. Another question here: any particular issues with seating and the fact that all seats are presumably on the same level? They are on the same level. We definitely try and keep the width to the minimum so that people really are seeing the full screen. I think we've only really had with the Bohemian Rhapsody event where we had to spread out a little bit more because of the number of people who came that night. The stage is quite set back and is quite high up. So I don't know if the rest of the team are on, if anybody's ever said anything about poor vision at the back of the hall. I'm very lucky because I sit next to the DVD player, so I'm right at the front. I get the best seat in the house. But I don't know whether anybody's said anything to any of the rest of the team. No, they're shaking their heads. So no, doesn't look like. I mean, as you say, the benefit there at your hall is the fact that you have got quite an elevated stage. So I could see that would work really well. I think that's all the questions in the chat. Is there anyone else that wants to put their
put their hand up and ask a question in person? Yeah, Michael, off you go. Please
Yes,
do raise your hands using the reactions button at the bottom right hand side of the screen. If you click reactions there, you can raise your hand and then I'll know you're waiting to ask a question. But Michael, go on, off you go.
Right, just to say that in Slaley, we started off with the kind of arrangement that you have with a projector and got in the way. So we now raised a total of about £7,200, 5,200 from the lottery fund. And we now have a projector, which is ceiling mounted, and a drop down screen, which is remotely controlled. The other thing we do is, until recently, we've been providing a supper as part of your evening, shown in the, shared in the interval, which we find encourages people to talk and communicate.
Nice.
So
Lovely idea.
We've also managed to contribute to a number of films. One of them was Addicted to Sheep, about sheep farming in the North Pennines, and that's well worth seeing. So we gave them some money and we got them to come along and talk to us. And then more recently, we had Dave Johns, star of Daniel Blake, who came along and gave a talk after our January film. So
yeah, wow. So your members are really getting added value there. Lovely. Thank you, Michael. Roger.
Can I just ask Michael, sorry, just to jump in for a minute. What did you say was the cost again of your super duper projector and what was the other thing in screen?
Was 7,200. It was done by a professional company installing high grade equipment.
Okay, great. Yeah. Can I also just, whilst we're on equipment, I just wanted to ask Liz if she, somebody asked if a list could be provided of sort of specifications, and I think you've already sort of said, yes, you could do that. But also, maybe if you're a smaller hall and you can't, you can't really afford to have too much, what would you say is the really important thing, or what's it worth investing the money in if you want to do this, but you can't go the full sort of hog?
Yeah, I guess it depends on how big your hall is, because that's where the sound is going to come in. Yeah,
is it the speakers though, or do you think does that make the most difference, or the projector, or is it just everything?
Yeah, I think it's a balance between the sound, therefore the amplifier and the speakers, and then the quality of the projector. Yeah, I mean, I think our DVD player was £60, so I mean, you don't need to spend any fortunes on a DVD player. It is definitely the amplifier, speakers, and the projector that need the money, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Roger.
Hi, thank you. Hi there. Thanks, Liz. That was absolutely fantastic. A few questions from myself. I'm a promoter in Derbyshire, mainly promoting live and local performances, live music and theatre and etc. Our venue is very much geared to around 100, 120 people in terms of capacity. And I've really thought about setting up a film club and trying to organise it. So everything I've heard today is really encouraging. A couple of questions. How do you manage your membership? And in terms of the bookings around the films, is it literally cash only on the door? So how do you guarantee what you're going to get, or people through the door, in terms of your revenue to actually make it worthwhile? I mean, we use Ticket Source for booking the live shows, which seems to work well. I just wondered if anybody else has any experience of using Ticket Source or similar for film clubs. And the other question is around money, because equipment is so expensive. Are there any grants out there that people know about where either village halls or organisations like mine who operate within the village halls can actually go to see if they can secure funding? So quite a few questions there. Sorry about that.
I can tell you what we do. So we're cash only on the door. We don't book. We don't ask people to let us know if they're coming, other than using the sort of "I'm coming" thing on Facebook. We don't take any bookings, and the seats are definitely on a first come first served basis. We have a few regulars who like to be right at the front because they are less able to walk further and less able to hear. So we know that they're always going to come at 7:05 and get into there. Yeah, in terms of funding, we did look about how we could get some funding, and there were also places that would rent out equipment so that you can try it first. I think there was a government body called Cinema for All, which I've got a feeling is disbanded now, but that there was definitely a group within that there where you could rent equipment just to test it out and see whether it was viable for your community. But we were very lucky that we were gifted the equipment, so didn't need to look for any funding.
Okay. And in terms of your membership, how do you manage the membership scheme and sign members up and give them? Are they on a separate mailing list in terms of the information or voting and all that side of it?
Yeah, we use MailChimp, which is an email marketing tool.
Yeah, we use that.
Yeah, free until you get to 2,000 people. So we use that. So we just register them as whether they're members or just subscribers. Okay. So everybody who's on the subscribers list will always get their monthly emails. And then in terms of managing it, yeah, we use good old Excel.
Okay.
Who comes to events and who then votes for certain activities. Yeah.
Lovely.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks Roger, thanks Liz. Paul, well, see you've got your hand up there. Paul Ryan, off you go.
Yes, hello. Yeah, sorry, this is harking back slightly. I didn't find the reaction button quickly enough. It's just to, now isn't this typical? Just as you answered, my phone was ringing. That's just, hang on, I'll just turn it off. Hasn't rung all day. It was really just to reiterate and to sort of emphasize something that I think the lady who I can see at the moment was asking about where your priority should lie. And I've worked in broadcasting for 45 years now, and it's been a big, real hobby horse of mine in television and anything audiovisual, that if you're going to skimp, don't skimp on the sound. I'm not saying you should have indifferent, a cheap projector, because obviously the pictures do matter, but in the scheme of things, you can get away with pictures that are okay if the sound is great. But if it's the other way around, you can have the best pictures in the world, but if the sound's crackly and horrible and nasty and tinny speakers, it actually makes the pictures look worse. And I can see Liz nodding her head, and she's clearly aware of this effect that we all know in the broadcasting industry. Don't forget the sound. In fact, prioritize that. So that's so it's a bit of a hobby horse of mine, which is why I couldn't resist saying it now. Okay.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, Karen Potts, did you want to ask a question? Can you sell food? Karen's asking.
We don't, but I don't see, I guess that's a rule within your community centre as to whether you can. We just get a license to sell alcohol. I don't think that covers us for food, but yeah, we choose not to.
There may be some questions around food hygiene certificates potentially if you're selling food, but I'm not an expert on that.
Not for for that sort of occasional event. It's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Wouldn't be any problem.
Good. Get those hot dogs on. Right, Barry Clayton, do you want to unmute yourself and ask a question?
Yeah, it was an observation really. We've been doing at Nonnington. We've been doing our film club for 6 years, 7 years, could even be longer. You know how time flies. We had a grant to set it up originally, which was about 5.5, and like Michael, we had a ceiling projector fitted and a permanent screen which comes down automatically. which means it's available for speakers and all sorts of other visiting dignitaries that come to the hall. But we have a very, very narrow audience. We only have 350 households in the village. So our average audience is, if we're lucky, is 20 people. So we tend to go down the MPLC route, because I tried Film Bank and it just wasn't viable. You know, they were charging more to show the film than we'd ever take at the box office, which is purely manual. A small card table and a slightly larger person sitting at the door taking the money. But the one thing that we found was, you must, as Paul said, get the sound right. And we have been known to put the subtitles on because of the tendency for American films to talk a little like, oh, so I don't understand a word they're saying, which drives me mad. As you can imagine, I think it saw Paul's smile, but we had the whole system fitted by a company in Canterbury who no longer exists, sadly, but they basically set it up like a slightly, well, a high-end home system. 7.1, which I discovered means you've got 7 speakers or more, but we had it balanced. You know, you get a microphone, you plug it into your amp and you put it in the middle of the room at head height, and you balance the sound so that it sort of concentrates in the middle of the room. And that's where you suggest people should sit if they're a little hard of hearing, which one or two of them are, obviously. But yes, we keep ours very simple. We are only allowed to advertise on the premises and to members, because it's the Nonnington Village Hall Association, basically, which I put in our magazine, which is only a 200 run. So, you know, again, our audience is very narrow, but it works. If you show the right movies, it really does work. They
will come, indeed.
Yes.
Okay.
And voting is a brilliant idea. I usually do it each month. We do it once a month. And at the end of or beginning of the evening, I say, has anybody seen a movie they think we would all like? Because you all tend to be of a similar idea, and so you're likely to enjoy the same sort of movies.
Yeah. Great. All right. Thank you, Barry. Right. Do we have any other questions? Would anyone else like to pose a question to Liz at all, or a more general question about hosting a film club in a village hall to Angela?
I think actually there's one from Sally. Did we discover that about the
yes,
about the deposit?
Yes.
And when do they
£150 deposit? Yeah. Liz mentioned is refundable.
If we close the account with Film Bank, then we get the £150 back. They keep it for the life that we're using the service.
Okay.
Thank you. That helps. Sorry, it's Sally here. Appreciate that. Thanks, Liz. Whilst I've got the floor,
yeah, sure, go on.
You mentioned that you do your ticket sales cash on door on the night. Has anybody got any experiences of doing it as a prepayment ahead of the event?
Liz is thinking there.
No, we don't. Sorry.
No, you don't. No. Okay.
No, okay. No, I just wondered if anybody got a fantastic tool that they use to take payment ahead.
Okay, Roger. Yeah, go on.
I mean, I was saying we use Ticket Source as an online booking system, but that's for live shows. If we were to go down the film club route, I think we would still use Ticket Source. There is a small commission charge on there per ticket, so it depends on your ticketing, pricing model as to what the customer would ultimately pay. But so if it's £5, they'd probably end up paying £5.20 or something. So Ticket Source take that money and they release it to you 3 or 4 days later. and then you obviously can pay your costs out of that, you know, revenue you've taken. So Ticket Source does work, and I can't see a reason why it wouldn't work for the film club. And it also guarantees you know how many people are actually coming and how many people have bought tickets in advance. Therefore, it can, you know, inform your refreshment policy, how many bottles of beer and wine you're getting. So you can manage your stock and your costs that way. Plus, you can obviously, you know, how many seats to put out. So very limited experience I have of this. I personally think an online booking system possibly is a better way forward, but it depends on your venue and the structure of your organization, I think, as to how it works better for that community. But certainly Ticket Source is another option.
I wondered about Eventbrite. I mean, we're you know, you all book through Eventbrite, and there is a charging, you know, you can charge for events. So I don't know, but I haven't actually done it, so I don't know whether they also, you know, charge you in some way for that. But that's really easy to set up. I mean, I suppose it's just a bit less friendly, isn't it? You know, that's the thing about it. You want to really keep it open to everyone and not put barriers sort of in the way. I mean, actually, Liz, the other thing I just wanted to ask you was that you're not restricting the audience to the members. Was that right? That you had you charged different prices if you're a member or non-member? Yeah, exactly.
Anybody can come. Please, all come and watch. Come and watch James Bond.
And the other thing, I don't know if we covered this. We may have done, but I think someone was asking about digital cinema packages rather than physical DVD. I don't know if you considered streaming at all, and whether that makes any difference to the price or the quality of the show.
We did briefly touch on streaming, and we didn't really look into it. I don't think it makes a difference to the price that we would pay to Film Bank. Yeah, I think I'm just trying to think what the options I see when I book the film. I think it just says DVD, and whether you can, I don't know whether you can even use a streaming service with them. I don't know, I'm afraid.
Okay. Shall we have one last question or comment from Barry, who's got his hand up, and then I'll hand back to you, Angela.
Yeah, only briefly. If you're streaming, you are in the hands of your broadband bandwidth, and any glitch, especially in the rural areas, you are shuttered. You know, you have no coming back. But as I think Liz said earlier, having that physical CD in your hand on the day. And something very, very quickly, if you set one up, build in a maintenance schedule on your kit. We've fell foul of that. We went to reopen after lockdown, and our amp, which, as Liz said, is your main item, had gone. It was a Sony, top of the range, just gone. Couldn't get it repaired, had to replace it. And you know, that was 400 quid. Just for the amp.
So that's an important thing to bear in mind. Okay, brilliant. And I agree on the high risk strategy to stream, really, isn't it? It might work for some places, but I was just interested in whether there was a price differential, because obviously it's quite pricey for smaller communities, the Film Bank style of license. Although I think, as Barry said, there is this MPLC license which doesn't allow you to advertise, does it? That's the thing. But it might suit some film clubs. Okay, so if there are no other questions,
there's just one there, Angela. Sally's asking about managing the age restrictions for the films and how you would do that, Liz.
We haven't. The kinds of films we tend to show are sort of 15 and up. We haven't really shown anything that that requires anything over that age. We've done a couple of children's showings. We did a couple of, I think we did Toy Story 4 at one point, when that was fairly new out, as a deliberate children's matinee. But to be honest, the audience that we get tend to be adults anyway. We don't tend to get many children coming at all.
Mm-hmm.
We always, on the posters, we always advertise the age of the film, and in any advertising we do in the magazines, we've always got the age of the film on there as well.
Yeah. Okay, great, thank you.
I think the I mean, certainly the Village Hall hiring agreement, you know, if the hall's being hired for a film club, then it would be in those conditions that you're not, you know, you're not showing, well, that you're making sure that nobody's coming to a film that is you know, is not suitable for their age group. So that would definitely be part of the hiring conditions, and you know, it's part of the hall's really responsibility to make sure that's not those rules aren't broken.
I've got to leave, I'm afraid. The rest of the team can stay and answer questions, but I've got to jump off, I'm afraid.
Okay, thanks so much, Liz. That was really, really helpful, really informative. Thank you on behalf of everyone.
No problem.
Good to see you. Thanks. So I can see we've just got one more. Okay, that's just a thank you. Okay, so we will send out the slides, which Liz has very kindly agreed to share with you all. We'll also send out a recording, and I think we've got a few messages in the chat about information on premises licenses and sort of food hygiene requirements if you're going to be serving food. So if you want to quickly put in the chat anything else that you wanted information on relating to this, and we'll do our best. I think somebody also asked for an equipment list, so we can circulate that as well. But otherwise, I think that we are ready to wrap up. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming. I realised at the beginning that what I didn't say is that my name is Angela Milligan. I'm the Village Hall advisor for Kent and Medway, and Kirsty McCarthy, who was going through the chat for us, is our communications person at Rural Kent. So great to see you all. Hope I'll see some of you tomorrow morning and at the Energy Talk, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.